Right, let's go. Morning guys and girls. How are you doing? So this is Van Talk, and it's Saturday 14th of November. These talks are literally just a bit of random chatting with no specifics in need, so we'll just see how it goes, and if these become popular I'll keep doing them. If not, you'll not see it anymore. So it's a good chance to sort of offload things that come to mind over the week that we don't always get a chance to do. So I run a lawn care company in South Yorkshire, and it's well established now. At this point in time we've got about 460 customers, which is not bad. If you go against some of the big franchises, they can have thousands of customers. Close to 20 years ago I actually worked for one of the big, most well-known companies in Nottinghamshire, and I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed being outside in the sunshine, and we're exercising all the time, which is good, especially if you're a big eater like I can be at times, especially if I've had a drink. Anyway, so I enjoyed it, but when I worked there, you may in the beginning have been doing 18 jobs a day, 20 jobs a day, starts to get to 21, and for me personally I could feel the pressure a little bit, because you know the start and finish times were 8 while 4 or something along those lines. I can't remember now, it's a long time ago. And if your run was an hour away, there was never any discussion about how you're going to get, you know, do you come in an hour earlier and then go out and get to your jobs for 8 o'clock? That never happened. So we all got there for probably 7:45, had a quick cup of coffee, and then off we went. But you could feel the pressure. So it was quite difficult, some runs, to get round. And I can honestly say in the years that I was there, I never really took a full break. It was literally eating as you're going round as fast as you can, keep going, keep going, keep going. Even the company at the time said you must spend time with the customers and you must, you know, look at the lawns, but it was impossible, and there was no way you could do it because of the pressures. I mean, yeah, in hindsight, as you get older and you look back, you think, well, you know, I should have spoke to them and said, look, I'm going to come in for 7 and get out, but I want you to pay me from 7. But I didn't really feel it was the place where you could have those sort of conversations. I won't say anything derogatory about the guys that ran it. I actually like the guys, but it was very much a sales-led company. And I know them as franchise owners had a lot of pressures to achieve every single year and grow and grow and grow. And obviously, so I got the bug for lawn care and just enjoyed it. So I've always had something inside me to want to run my own business and make extra money, never really being happy with working for someone else. And I know a lot of people feel like this, but sadly, and it is sad, a lot of people never actually take things a step further. I mean, people I've spoken to have said, oh, I'd love to have my own business, I'd love to do this, I've got this idea. Even my sister talked once about running a taxi cab company with women only drivers and things like that, but that was 15-20 years ago, and you know, other companies do things like that now. Anyway, like I say, this is van chat, this is random, so this is just stuff that comes to mind. So yeah, I set up, while I was there working for this other company, I started strategically gathering information on suppliers and ratios of products used and which parts to use in the sprayers, etc. Which, you know, you're going to do your research if you're going to set up in business. So I did that. I even got my logo designed, which at the time probably cost me about £200. But then that kind of sat for a year or two on a memory stick, because I can't remember the timings exactly, but at some point along the line of me deciding to set this up and get everything in place, my marriage at the time came to an end, so it was a bit of a sticky time for a while. Moving forward, I eventually moved to where I am now in South Yorkshire and met the lady I'm with now, and from there she encouraged me to set this up and also to do some gardening as well. So I did, and the lawn care grew. You know, I put leaflets out, I even went into Facebook groups and advertised the services there. Quick mention, they go in every single morning into these groups, find your post and put a dot on it to comment on it, which would bump it up to the top. And that was quite effective for a while. I don't know if that is still an effective thing because I haven't done it for such a long time. But that's taken, and I'm not the fastest at marketing, but it's taken, I don't know, 6 years, 8 years to get it to where it is now. The lawn care could have grown a lot faster had I not been doing gardening. And the reason I say this, when I started the gardening, which was suggested to me by my good lady, I started advertising that within the Facebook groups, and pretty soon, and it happens, it's so easy, it's just posting a Facebook group, gardener available, and I set up a Facebook page and just linked to that, and honestly the work literally did come in, and it wasn't long before I got regular customers. But it was slow in the beginning, you know, you get 2 or 3 in a week, and then 2 or 3 another week, and then you might lose one and you might gain one, and you might go a few weeks where you don't get any, and that was that. And without fail, every time it got to November, the gardening would drop like a sack of stones to nothing, literally nothing. So it's a journey I've gone on. Now in the early years the gardening grew a lot faster than the lawn care, and within a couple of years it got up to 100 customers. Now all at this point I had a full-time job while trying to build these, and I was doing this, the gardening and the lawn care, in the evenings and weekends, and I would finish work at 4:30 and I would go out gardening up till 8, 9 o'clock during summer without fail, 5, 6 times a week. It was very, very hard, but it paid off. I don't regret. Obviously I wish it could have been easier and I could manage to or afford to do it as a full-time thing from day one, but you just can't. There we go. Sorry, I just went through some cameras there because I was talking to you guys. Average speed check cameras just coming onto the motorway. So yeah, anyway, so it was hard, like I say, evenings and weekends, and most of the time you'd go out and do 2, 3, 4 gardens, and then you run out of time. and then you're tired, and then you come home, and then you've got to empty your van, your car, whatever I was in at the time. Started off with an estate car, then a 4x4, then I got a really knackered old van, and then I got a decent van, which is the one I use. This one I'm driving now is a Vauxhall Vivaro. It's been okay. It's a crew cab with a space at the back, so it was combining family use and work use, so I had to empty it all the time. Pain in the bloody backside, excuse my French. Guys, if you like this channel, please smash that like and subscribe button. Anyway, so I struggled with that for quite a few years. Eventually it got to a point where it made me a bit ill, and I had to take some time off work, and it was this point during the summer that, as I was off work, I thought, is it now or never? So I went for it, and I left the job and went full time. So at this point I've got around 100 customers on the gardening. No idea how many I had on the lawn care. Maybe 100, 150, something like that. I can't remember. But it was just about okay for the first summer. It was just about paying bills. But then when we got to winter, as you know, the gardening side dropped to nothing, and I only had a little bit of money coming in from the lawn care at the time, which was not enough to pay bills. So the first 2 or 3 years was very, very hard. I have no idea how I got through, and I can't remember how I got through at the time, but we did. But it was harder. We might have borrowed money, I can't remember. We got through somehow. Eventually I started reducing the gardening and spending more time on the lawn care. I was running adverts, and we started to gain new customers. Now, as I was just dabbling with the advertising, I'd just do it a little bit at a time, and brought an extra 50 customers in the first year of doing this. And I thought, oh, this is good, and then I could start working out, when we get to so many customers, it'll cover our bills. Now, I was only doing 4 treatments a year at this point, so that covers 40 weeks. So then there's still another 12 weeks where you've got no work coming in. So it didn't take me long to switch to a 5 treatment cycle, and it actually wasn't a bad thing anyway, because we had spring, summer and autumn feed and weed, and then we have some iron and seaweed going down, just about going into winter, November time. But now the 5th treatment came in around about end of January, February time, and that is a further moss and root treatment. And actually what we was finding was people were getting more new moss coming in around that time. So we offered this extra service, and I was absolutely shocked that almost every single customer took it up without a heartbeat. So I was blown away. So now I knew that we'd got a regular income all year round, and the only thing to stop us would be heavy snow. Thankfully we've not had that over the last few years, although I have a feeling we're going to get it this year. Can't help but feel it. And I've been saying this all year round. I don't want to jinx myself, but the only way around it is to put some money away for savings. It's the only way you're going to do it, is to get yourself through the winter, unless you can offer some winter services such as clearing snow. But I don't really see a lot of point, because it's not very often we get very heavy winters with heavy thick snow. And yeah, I could purchase a snow shovel machine and offer myself as a service to go and clear people's pathways and things like that, which I may do. I may just buy one and keep it in the garage and see how things go, but I don't know. So that is pretty much the story. I've been treating lawns for about 20 years nearly, and when I moved to where I am now, I started getting the ideas back to setting up the lawn care and the gardening, which we got into. Yeah, I've completely forgot what I was going to say. But then it came to around 2013 where it became official. Lawn Right was official, and we set it up, and it became a proper thing. So that's now 7 years, nearly 8 years now. Been full-time for the vast majority of that, and I can honestly say never look back. But the first few years were difficult, and it is a case of building those numbers up. And this is one of those businesses that you can set up, and it is, as long as you've got a good reputation and your ethics are good in the main, and you're honest and you're punctual and reliable, and you contact customers when you should, your business will grow. And it is easy to attract customers to this when you've got everything else in place properly. So not to brag, but we have a fairly good setup. We're not perfect by any means. When it's just you yourself, everything is based around you. But when there's more people in your business, you've got more things that can upset the boat and cause issues, and you have to cross that bridge when these issues come up and just sort of deal with them. So yeah, there you go. This is just a little story about how I got set up into lawn care. I never knew everything at the beginning. I still don't now. My knowledge of weeds is not the best, I'll be completely honest. However, the good thing is that 95% of lawns all suffer with common weeds, and the most common weeds, you know, I can identify and find the right product to kill. But like I say, when I was working for the other company, it's different when it's your own business, because you're more into it and you're determined to make it work. But when you work for someone else, your heart's not in it in quite the same way. It never is, and it never will be for people who work for other people, sadly, unless they pay you an absolute fortune. But for me, it was just a job, although I did enjoy it out of all the jobs that I have done in life. You know, I got tested once. One of the bosses came out with an area manager, just random checks on people, on us guys working in the field, and started asking me random questions about random weeds, and I struggled big time. I could identify maybe one or two, but there were another 7 or 8 which he pointed out, and I said I don't know. But that was that. So, and I never knew much about all the various products. I knew that we put different fertiliser on at different times of the year, with slightly different ratios of NP and K. And I knew that we put weed killer on, and we did aeration and scarifying, and I just took it from what I knew and what I'd been taught. A lot of what all I can say is a lot of random comments which were occasionally blurted out by the owners of the franchise at the time, they all went in here and they all stuck in here. And I remember actual comments, what they've said nearly 20 years ago, and they will never remember that they've said that to me, but it's little things that have stuck in. just little comments. One of them just at one point just randomly blurted out to the other franchise owner, "Oh yeah, scarifying and aerating fixes most things." And that was it. It was just a random comment. I must have been near the office and I could hear them talking, and they just said, yeah, it fixes most things. It's amazing what you remember. So yeah. I mean, what else can I say? What else can I say? That was my story, really. So once I'd got the advertising figured out, I then started ramping up how much I was going to spend, and I started spending £200 a month on advertising, and it actually paid for itself, because as I was doing that, there was enough new customers coming in, and there was loads of enquiries. There might have been 2 or 3 a day, and we were getting 10 a month, maybe 15 a month, new customers coming in, sometimes 20. So I'd got it figured out, and for a few years on the trot, I was able to bring in 100 customers every single year, because I stopped the advertising once the bad weather kicked in and we started getting into autumn, because in my mind I thought that people wouldn't be that bothered. And what led me to think that was, I knew that the franchise owners that I worked for, they would have 9,000 leaflets get delivered right at the start of spring by a local company. So if they're doing a massive advertising campaign at the start of spring, during the growing season, when it all kicks off, it's when everyone comes out of their house and looks at the garden for the first time in months and thinks, I've got to get that lawn sorted this year. So that's what made me think. So that's when I started advertising, and it worked. And then I started to think, well, should we keep the advertising going into summer and late summer, and we'll see what happens. And it carried on, and we kept on getting new customers, and that's only one advertising stream. So yeah, anyway, that's that side of the business. Like I say, we're up to around 460 customers at the moment, which is good now. It's established, and it's only just this last few years where the lawn treatments on their own have been able to sustain us as a family right through the year. The year before last and the years before that, I had to rely on gardening income as well to supplement the lawn care income. Now, the reason I'm saying it sustains us now is because there are 2 of us in this business. There's me and my partner, and she's full-time, I'm full-time, and she runs the office full-time. So there's 2 wages to pay. So thankfully we're okay. So that's where we are now. And over the years I've learnt new things, and I've had to, as a business owner, I want to deliver the best. So in the early years I was just putting fertiliser and weed killer on and iron sulphate down. Now I have little concoctions of various things which I have trialed and tested and put together in various combinations, and some of these get put in with the weed killer when I spray the weed killer, because we're adding extra goodness into the ground. Now, all these years, I've been doing this for like 3 years now, putting these extras in, and I've never charged any extra to the customers because I wanted to see the difference. So it's time for me to put the prices up just a little bit. I did put the prices up, I don't know, 4 years ago, just as a general price increase, because we'd never done it before. And I would say it was welcomed okay, by maybe 90% of customers were okay with it. It was only a very small nominal amount, like £1, £1.50, something like that per customer. So I'm considering whether to do that again, due to the fact all these extras I'm putting in. But now I've got something that I'm quite happy with, but I do feel I need to just make the range of services a bit better. So we've always done the treatments, and around about the end of summer going into autumn, we've included a form which we've given out to customers offering winter work. So winter work, when I say winter work, what I mean is scarifying, aerating, overseeding, top dressing. Clearly not in winter, but some of it can be. So the scarifying can be done back end of autumn, any time really, but you've got to allow for recovery following scarifying, which is usually around 6-7 weeks. So you want to time it so really middle of October is the latest time for any seeding and any scarifying work. So it's either then or you start in spring. Then you've got the period from sort of November going through into about March, where you can offer aeration, which, you know, I haven't really pushed that too much, and I don't need to push it now because we've got enough finances coming in from the treatments. However, we have spare time each day now, so I'm going to start sending out information about that. So yeah, that's me. This video is just a bit of a background on me and how I got into lawn right and how I set it all up, etc. I hope you found it interesting. That's my wipers, I'm sorry. You've either found it interesting or you found it completely boring if you're still here at this point. But you know what? It's a bit of a brain dump, and some people like to know about this stuff. What else can we talk about? Well, yeah. What about you guys? And helping you guys and helping you with your lawns. Okay, I'll give you some tips. So, I'll reel off as many as I can just think about. Cutting your grass. If it needs a cut, cut it. Whatever time of the year. Generally, okay? I'll say that with a pinch of salt. Generally. You're never going to cut it in snow. And you're never going to cut it when the ground is super squelchy, soft, in puddles. Common sense. You shouldn't really cut it when it's raining unless you're absolutely desperate, because it's going to make a mess, it's going to churn things up, and it's going to stress the grass out, because you're cutting wet grass, and what's going to happen is, and especially if your blade's not very sharp as well, the grass will be bent over by the blade and pulled, and that leaves a yellow tip, a white tip on the top of the grass. On a dry day with a good sharp blade, the grass is pointing up and you get a nice clean cut. So that's that one. A little bit of rain is absolutely fine, nice light rain is fine. If it's wet on the ground, again, as long as you've got a sharp blade, cut it. Just try not to cut too much off. Just use a bit of common sense. If you've got a dry day coming up, it's better to wait for a dry day, but if you need to, then you need to. You know, the world's not going to come to an end because you stress your grass out of it. It will recover, but if you're going for the perfect green lawn, then, you know, you need to stick to as many of these tips as you can. Now, the other tip is not to cut too short, and not to cut too much off in one go. the golden rule, as everyone says in every bloody video you ever watch on YouTube, never more than a third. It doesn't have to be a third. It could be a quarter, it could be a fifth, it could be a sixth. The grass plant, so the blade of grass is storing the goodness in the blade. So if you chop that off right at the bottom, all that goodness has just been wiped out. So the grass is going to go, ah! You've just scalped me. It's going to go a horrible colour. So the best thing is, it's just little and often. Just keep coming in, just keep taking the tops of the grass. Just keep cutting them off. So if you get right into it, you may come out every 2 or 3 days and just run over on a nice high setting, 2 to 3 inches. Brilliant. Makes a big difference, depending on the grass. Some people want a short lawn. There is more work involved with a short lawn because you have to keep on top of it at that height. If you have a grass which tolerates short mowing, and there's lots of different ones out there. Dwarf ryegrass, that's a good one. There's loads. There's lots of varieties now. You don't even have to do the research too much. You can just go to a seed manufacturer and say, I want one which tolerates short mowing and it's hard wearing, etc. Anyway, so you've got to mow it regularly. If you let a shortly mown grass grow long, then again, you're going to be stressing it out when you cut it short again. So say little and often, just keep taking those tops off. For me personally, my choice is a grass around 2 inches, possibly 2.5, 3 inches at the most. And the reason I say that is each blade of grass is attracting the sun. It's like a little solar panel on your roof. So if you've only got a very small solar panel on your roof, what's that going to do? It's going to take the tiniest bit of sun in and do very little, depending on your grass type. Hear me out. So you've got a decent sized blade of grass, a couple of inches. It's enough to draw in a decent amount of sunshine, and the grass can use that sunshine through photosynthesis, create a sugar, feed itself, become a stronger, healthier grass plant. And if it gets too long, you start to get to the point where the grass at the top is seeing the sun, but further down the plant it's starting to get a bit shaded, especially if you've got nice thick grass. So the grass at the bottom is struggling, and when you come to cut it, it's going to look a horrible yellow colour. So little and often is the key. So what I'm trying to say is, you maintain that height all year round, around 2 inches. It becomes healthy because it's got all its nutrients in. It can take maximum sunlight. Now then, when you've got a healthy plant, it can thicken up. It can develop deep roots. The grass is strong and healthy. That's what you need to be doing. If you don't, and you cut your grass short all the time, or you don't cut your grass regular, so you let it grow long, then you cut it, then you let it grow long, then you cut it, you're not training it to be cut regular where it needs to be. So you do that, the grass weakens. So you can imagine your soil, grass, weeds and moss all compete for the same space. So if your grass becomes weak, as soon as we get to winter, it's going to start to thin out because of the shade in places, and moss will creep in. Yay! So you're going to get moss. If it's a really shaded place, you'll get moss every year regardless, but it will struggle to populate that space if you've got a good, thick, healthy piece of grass at a good height. You imagine in winter there is less sunlight, so you need those nice 2 to 3 inch blades of grass standing up so that any available sunlight can be drawn in and used to protect the plant. It is simple when you talk about it day in, day out, but just keep your grass at the right height and mow regular. It does so much good for your grass, and your grass will reward you. Mow regular, mow at a good height. You do those two things and your grass will look superb, even if you don't put any chemicals on. It'll look so much better than your neighbours. Yeah. I mean, I've been talking for half an hour now. I can't believe I haven't shut up. And if you're still here, congratulations, you deserve a pat on the back. So, other tips, what else can I say? Holotine aeration. Look, grounds get compacted. We walk on the lawn, kids play on the lawn, animals come on the lawn. You should aerate it probably once a year, more regular if you want. And as you aerate the ground, you punched a hole in the ground, especially if it's hollow tine aeration, and removed a core of soil. And the core will be around an inch, inch and a half, something like that. That will allow drainage, and it also relieves compaction. So those holes are usually spaced about every 3 inches on a staggered basis, and eventually they close with the surrounding pressure of the soil that's around each hole. They close and push the soil together, and that just gently allows air molecules in and amongst all the soil particles. So that is brilliant because it allows air, rain and nutrients to get down to the roots more easily, especially on clay, and it enables the grass roots to spread out easier and fill those looser areas of soil. And what do you get as a result? A stronger, healthier grass plant. You imagine a house plant sitting in your window. What happens if you don't give it sunlight? It's not happy. It's just the same for your grass. It's a plant. It needs air, it needs sunlight, and nutrients and food help. It also needs water. So that brings me on to the next tip: watering. Of course, you don't need to water in winter. You don't really need to water hardly anything in spring, because as long as there is a dew in the morning, it's pretty much okay. But as the temperatures begin to creep up, we're looking into May onwards, you should look to start watering once a week. And then as we move more into the summer periods, you need to be watering a little bit more. Now, how much? I do have a calculator which I need to put on my site, which will tell you how much you need to water for your size of lawn. But every lawn has different requirements. But basically, a rule which has been bandied around by many, just to give you an idea: if you stick an empty tuna can somewhere on your lawn where your sprinkler's hitting it and let it fill up, that's about 1 inch. That will get you somewhere close. You start doing that, and then you can monitor the colour of your grass and see how it's looking. What you don't want to be doing is overwatering, because then your grass is always damp and wet. And as things get hot, we've got hot and humid. Now, hot and humid, you imagine athlete's foot between your toes. Hot and sweaty days, hot and sweaty between your toes, you get athlete's foot, which is fungus. And you can get toenail fungus and things like that. Hot and humid conditions create fungus in your lawn. That is why we start to see red thread fungus in lawns towards the back end of summer. Occasionally, it all depends on the time of year and when it's been hot and wet. And then that will lead to mushrooms and things like that. So the mushrooms enjoy the organic material. Well, the mushrooms are actually the fruit of the fungus which is underground. Anyway, so I think this will do for this video. gone on way longer than I thought. Thank you for listening to this. If you want to this is one of those where you can just pop it on with some earphones on while you're doing some housework, mowing the grass or clearing leaves. It's just a bit of chit chat, and hopefully you'll pick up some tips. Maybe I should turn this into like a podcast or something once a week. Would you guys be interested in something like this? Let me know in the comments below. Please smash that like button. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you like this channel, please subscribe. Please become a subscriber of mine. I'm hoping to grow this into a bigger, better thing, and share the stuff what I do daily. If it helps you guys, if it helps you make your lawn better, even just one of you, I will feel like I've done some good. So if you do subscribe, click on the little bell notification icon, and then you'll get notified each time I produce new content. So let me know guys what you think. I can do a little thing like this possibly once a week. It's just a general chit chat as a podcast or on here, what you listen to, because I'm sure you don't want to just sit and stare at my ugly mug while I'm driving for 45 minutes. I'm actually just going to pick my daughters up. It's Saturday, and these two live with the mum, and they come to mine every weekend. So I'm just en route now to go and pick them up. Today it's a wet old day, and there you go. So let me know what you think guys in the comments, and I really look forward to hearing what you think about this one, because if you do and you think it's okay, I will produce these sort of things more regular. I have time when I'm driving in the van to basically offload anything in my brain, and we can talk about specific topics. So have you got any questions? If you've got any questions that you'd like me to answer, feel free to pop them in the comments below, and I can make one of these up. Phone's ringing in. I can make one of these up in response. Right guys, speak to you soon. Bye.